Has someone close to you reduced your confidence through veiled put-downs or gaslighting reality? Do you feel alienated from friends and tense walking on eggshells? Reeling from emotional highs and lows? Maybe it's time to evaluate an unhealthy relationship. Over the next few minutes, we'll explore 10 warning signs of mental abuse that might shock you. By decoding behaviors like manipulation, control, and anger issues, you'll gain clarity. Let's launch our quest to spot the signs, start up healing, and feel empowered through knowledge. I hope you'll find wisdom in what we uncover next. First, constant belittling. This refers to persistently saying or doing things to diminish someone's sense of self-worth and confidence. Belittling comments attack intelligence, abilities, appearance, or personality in subtle and overt ways over time. The victim begins critically analyzing everything about themselves and feeling inadequate due to the constant criticism, even when it's untrue or unreasonable. Severe belittling is emotionally abusive. Second, gaslighting. This manipulative tactic involves making someone question their own reality, memories, and sanity by persistently denying facts, accusing the victim of being crazy or having faulty memories. It may include denying events that occurred that the victim vividly recalls, refusing to acknowledge actions said to have been taken, or controlling information to confuse the victim about what's real. Over time, gaslighting erodes mental stability and trust in one's own judgment, making the victim excessively defer to the abuser. Third, isolating you from friends and family. Abusers will intentionally sabotage victims' outside friendships and family bonds by limiting contact, destroying relationships with lies or humiliation, controlling information sharing, or prohibiting activities to sever social support. Without validation and different perspectives, the victim becomes dependent on the abuser for all emotional and practical support, unable to turn elsewhere for help in the abusive situation. This enables the abuse to continue or even escalate behind closed doors. Fourth, explosive anger. An abuser may frequently lose control of their emotions by screaming, breaking things, punching walls, etc. Victims learn to walk on eggshells to avoid triggering these outbursts. Intimidation and threats keep the victim from complying with demands through fear of violent consequences. Over time, the victim's stress levels rise, and they may develop post-traumatic symptoms. Fifth, manipulating through guilt. Abusers may use guilt trips by saying things like, "If you loved me, you had," or "You're hurting my feelings." They blame the victim for their own behaviors and use guilt as a tool to excuse abuse or avoid taking responsibility for their actions. The victim feels they must constantly prove their love and adherence by tolerating poor treatment. Sixth, controlling behavior. Abusers need to feed power issues by invading every aspect of a victim's life. They closely monitor time and activities, limit independence, restrict access to finances or transportation, read personal communications, withhold approval for normal decisions, and demand constant obedience. Individual identity is swapped for living entirely based on the abuser's restrictive demands. Victims cannot freely choose friendships, careers, or opinions without permission. Constant scrutiny and dominance destroys self-empowerment over time. Seventh, lack of trust. Abusers often accuse victims of lying, cheating, or being disloyal without reason. They monitor victims closely through technology, questioning, and stalking due to deep-rooted trust issues. Constant allegations shatter victims' confidence and self-worth while protecting abusers projecting their own untrustworthy tendencies. Over time, victims internalize lack of trust in themselves. Eighth, playing the victim. Abusers like to position themselves as the real hurt party by unjustifiably saying things like, "Look what you made me do." They avoid taking responsibility for abuse and see themselves as constantly persecuted even when inflicting harm. Rationalizing poor behavior this way casts victims into the role of abusers while excusing mistreatment. Ninth, threatening to harm themselves. Abusers sometimes threaten suicide or self-harm to control victims using guilt and fear. Victims endure even unbearable treatment to avoid being held responsible for threats carried out. Abusers know this manipulation tactic keeps people trapped in abusive dynamics, terrified of attempting to leave. The threats may be empty, but effectively shift accountability and blame for the abuse away from the actual aggressor. 10th, verbally abusive language. Constant insults, yelling, name-calling, and humiliation destroys victims' self-esteem over time. Even if unaccompanied by physical threats, verbal violence like this instills deep trauma. Thanks for watching. See you in the next